And now I want to get started by introducing our live speakers who are going to take us through a journey of how you can cultivate that customer experience and find your target customer in an e-commerce space. So we've got two fantastic experts. First, I'm so thrilled to introduce Courtney Wright. Courtney is the visionary behind LipRevolt, a socially conscious cosmetic company based in Atlanta, and she has a passion for empowering women and promoting activism. Courtney has grown LipRevolt into a brand recognized for its high-quality products and its mission-driven approach. Hi, Courtney.
Hey, Brittany, you're such a ray of sunshine.
Oh,
Thank you for the introduction.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. It's so wonderful to have you here, and I'm really excited to work with you again on this.
Thank you.
And next we have Archie Clay III. Archie is the co-founder and CEO of WearBrims, which you can see on his sweatshirt right there. It is a luxury fedora hat company that is changing the way people perceive luxury accessories and hats within the fashion industry. He started the company in 2017 with his fraternity brother and longtime friend with the goal of spreading confidence and love throughout their designs and creativity. Archie, it's so wonderful to have you here.
What's up, guys? Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump into this really great conversation. I think all of us can definitely, if you've been around the block for a little bit, you know, shopping's a lot different than when you used to go to the mall with your friends. It's a whole different experience. And it's really important for customers, especially when you run a small business, to still feel very engaged, even when they're shopping online. So I would love to start the discussion off with you, Courtney, and just ask you, when you're really thinking about your customers, how do you identify and define your target customer demographic for your e-commerce business? And how does this affect like how you build out your customer connection strategy?
Honestly, this was one of the hardest things for me to do, Brittany. Like when I first started LipRevolt, I thought every customer was going to look like me, act like me, want the same things. And I thought it would be easy because, you know, I like this color lipstick. I thought everybody would. And that was not the case. I found out that a lot of my customers were very different. And I had to find out through focus groups and just feedback with family and everything else, you know, what colors are you looking for? How should I approach this social activism aspect for my business? You know, I was saying, oh, I want to have a lipstick brand that promotes social activism and is changing the world. And it was hard to kind of like send that message out, and it wasn't meeting my clientele initially. It wasn't until I took a step back, looked at who was shopping for my brand as is, like what did that look like? Was it a person who was 15 to 24? Was it someone who was, you know, Black, diverse? Who was it? Was it someone who goes and get a Starbucks coffee every day? And I found honestly that my initial assumptions were completely wrong. So I thought my audience would be younger crowd, super engaged. A lot of my customers are between like their 30s and 50s. And it's so interesting because I thought, you know, activism, the younger crowd, millennials, generation, Z, they're so engaged and they really want to change the world. But I found that a lot of other people do too. And so I had to look at like the Facebook demographics when you do like your ads, like who's viewing your stuff. And then honestly, I just send out surveys every once in a while to say, okay, how did you hear about us? What's your age group? How are you liking the lipstick? And that was the way that I kind of was able to identify and define who I need to target. Of course, I still target people like myself, but there's a much bigger world out there than that. So I don't want you to just be closed off. Your target customer may not be you. So just branch out just a little bit more.
I absolutely love that because yes, when you're creating a brand and it's something you love, I think it is really easy to think like the people who are also going to love this will be like me, but your brand, your mission, all these other things, they might touch a lot more people. And I like that you started looking at Facebook and sending out surveys, because I feel like that's a really attainable place to start for a lot of folks.
Mhm.
So that's wonderful.
And just ask. Your customers don't care. Just ask. You might send a follow-up email. I remember I was looking at my email subscribers and I had this repeat customer, and then all of a sudden she unsubscribed. And I was like, what in the world is going on here? Not her. So I sent her an email and I was like, hey, just wanted to know, did we do something? You know, I
Yes.
didn't word it like that. But of course, you know, I just asked them, and I gave them a coupon to come back to us. And that day she made like a huge order. So
Wow.
you just never know.
That's so true. And what like a unique experience to shop online as a consumer and then hear from, you know, the actual brand, like why, maybe did you leave or can you come back? I really
Mhm.
love that.
Like, why'd you leave us?
Yeah, come back, girl. What are you doing? Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Courtney. And Archie, I'd love to hear from you. So, what are strategies that you use to build and maintain relationships with your e-commerce customers?
Yes. So yeah, to kind of align to Courtney, I mean, I think it's all about, for us, it's all about community, right?
Mm,
It's all about understanding that you kind of have to evolve with your community. But for us, it's a little slightly different because of we're in the fashion industry.
mhm,
And for me, to be very transparent, is just like we don't try our 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 ethos and journey is around creating a product that elevates and inspires people to be who they are, right? And a lot of times our aesthetic sometimes not may reflect to everyone, right? So for us, it's like, hey, we have different tiers, right? We have our conference collection that is for everyone, right? They may want a black, they may want a tan, right? But then we have our limited edition pieces that we may release 4 to 5 hats a year, right? They're more um, colors and more textures and materials and things of that nature. But I think it's all a journey, right? Because for me, we didn't do much in the beginning to understand who our customer was, right? But I think now the last 2 years is really understanding the data behind the customer and their journey and how they react, right? We realized the last year that our customers were between 30 and 55, right?
mhm,
And that's a big shift from who I am, right? Me being starting a company at 26, and now me being 33, now I fit into who our customer is, right? But we also have to remember that is that our customer isn't us, right?
mhm.
And I think when we create content and um, aesthetics around the brand, I'm not saying that you have to completely show your customer, but you have to make sure they're in the market in some way, right? You have to
Mhm.
make sure that your communication aligns to who they are, right? How you're telling a story and making sure that you're not just having models that are 18 and 20 and 22, that you have a diverse model pool when you are creating content. And I think it's difficult because when you see fashion in a high end level, it's the light skins, it's the long hair, blonde hair, it's a certain style of person that fits that mold. But I think for us, it's being very diverse, right? And understanding who our exact customer is and communicating to that, right? And having that, even though we're luxury, we don't have to have that stuck upish vibe. I think that what makes us differentiates us from luxury brands is that we do create the high end quality products, but our customer service and how we communicate is more soft, right? It's more community driven. It's like family reunion. Like, hey man, how are you doing? Like,
Yes.
how are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, we have an amazing sale event coming up. We'd love for you to be a part of it. You know what I mean? So it's really tailoring your communication to the customer so that they feel a part of your journey, especially as you're scaling. And then I think as you get to that top of where you want to be at, you keep that same energy because I think a lot of times, to be very transparent, companies get to that point and then they change completely,
Mm,
right? And some companies have the ability to do that, but I think that you can make more money by still being who you are. But of course, as you scale, of course, I may not be able to communicate with the customer anymore. But what I can ensure that is that if we have a customer service team, that they're communicating the way I would want them to communicate. You know what I
mm.
mean? So it's really having that honesty, having that chief flavor approach. to how communication looks like everything is around being making sure the customer is always right in some situation. You know what I mean?
Yes, I love that. I love that you both had journeys that started out like you were very passionate about makeup and then fashion for you, Archie, and you created something that you loved and then found out that your customer is different. And I really like that you represent your customers and your marketing and whatnot, because that is definitely, as a consumer, how I see myself in a brand, or like, ooh, that person looks so good in that hat. Like, I bet I'll look good in that hat too. Let me go ahead and buy it. So I love that, and that you're kind of thinking about not only who you are and who your brand is and what you want it to be, but the people that really connect with it. You're including them throughout your journey. I love that. Okay, so for our next question, I'd love to circle back to you, Courtney, and see like how, especially when you're, shopping online, how do you create like a customer experience that feels personalized and feels like there's community behind it, when you have a e-commerce brand?
I think Archie hit the nail on the head when he said, don't be the stuck-up brand.
Yeah.
Don't. Because going back to like wherever they find me, whether it's social media, hearing about me through somebody else, if they like ask a question on social media or something, I get back to them. If they send something like a DM on Instagram, someone on the team, myself or somebody else is going to respond. And then once you get to the actual site, I want you to feel represented. And I also show a little bit of myself on there, not much, because I still like to keep it super sleek and professional, but there's still that personal touch in there to make you feel like a part of it. And then even down to like my social impact, I let people vote about where they want the money to go. So once they make an order for LipRevolt, buy a lipstick, 10% of our shop orders go towards nonprofits that support women, LGBTQ rights, civil rights, human rights, etc. And so I actually let them vote on the particular nonprofit or group of nonprofits that they want to assist. And so I think that also gets a little bit more engagement for the checkout portion. But also when I first started, I would hand write thank you notes for every single person who shopped with me. And honestly, I think that kept a lot of people coming back because they saw that there's a person behind this business. It's not just, someone made this and you don't see them. No, like you will see who I am throughout my business. And I think just having engagement and letting them know that you appreciate their support, I think allows your customers to want to come back or to shop with you in the first place. So I think we're going to talk a little bit more about like user experience. So I'm going to keep it there. I'm going to keep it there.
Thank you. No, I love that. And just like really adding the personalization to, you're really building a community, like getting a handwritten note, like that's bringing someone into a fold, and getting to vote on where the donations go is it's so impactful. And it provides a lot of like legitimacy to the fact that you are like, we are committed to supporting these social impact things, and here's how. So I love that. And Archie, I'd love to ask you the same question, and how, I know we kind of touched on it, but what are some other ways or anything you haven't touched on how you personalize the customer experience for your e-commerce customers?
Well, I think it also is kind of trial and error, right? It's figuring out things that work best for you. Paying attention to your customer, your honestly, sorry, just went blank. Your
Audience.
Yes, your audience, and understanding how you can evolve over time, right? It can maybe simple things of like hearing from your customer via Instagram, right? I think one thing we just did recently is that we did a survey for last year to really understand how our customers feel about the brand, negatively or positively, right? And to really implement that into our 2023 strategy, right? And one thing we realized is that our customers really want us to really get back to telling stories, because we grew up. When I say grew up, we started the brand on telling stories. And I think sometimes when you get to scaling, you forget about that. You're so focused on the operation day to day that you forget that the product itself that is connected to the customer in some way. If people follow you and are aligned to the brand based on the ethos, how you started, right? So you have to reflect on yourself every year, every quarter, right? To say, hey, how are we aligned to where we started? Are we going away from it, right? And I think it's okay to take a step back and say, hey, let's go back to the principles, right? What does that look like? Because at the end of the day, those are how you acquire customers. And I think you also got to realize that things are very expensive now, from text messaging marketing to email marketing to especially ads, right? So you have to figure out unique ways to acquire customers and keep them there, right? For us, we just created this thing called I Graduated Life. It's a monthly series where we'll be highlighting celebrities, influencers, everyday people, and being for them to tell their story around what it looks like to really graduate different milestones in your life. But that's also connected back to the ethos of WearBrims, right? I think it's being creative, because you got to understand that social media may not always be there. So are you going to survive if social media is not there? So for me, it's thinking as a CEO, I don't want to build my business off of Instagram, right? I don't want to survive off of Instagram. Like, I don't want to, if we don't post, that means that we're not getting no sales. We should still be generating sales regardless if we posting or not. Social media is the place for us to gather information, gather data, communicate with our customers, get information from them, show new products, test new products. Hey, what do you think about this colorway? So that's kind of how I look at things, and really kind of pivoting and have an additive strategy. So for us, it's like, it's having individuals in the community that we represent. So we have this thing we're creating called, it's called community influencers. So in every major city, we're going to have someone there that is really dope, right? That they can potentially ask questions around, understand the product. There'll be someone wearing the product. They can actually see the product in person. They see them, but it's someone that's really in the trenches of the community.
Yes, I love that. You're literally going to the community and showing that you support that area. And I think what you said about, social media and really using it as a tool and not like the foundation of your business is extremely key. And you hit on something that I'd love to hear a little more about. You mentioned that you'll use social media to kind of get data on like who's looking at your things and analytics. And I'd love to hear how you use data and analytics to understand and kind of segment your customer base.
Yeah, so like I was just looking at our email around just who our customers are. Who are our customers? What's the age of our customers? How have our open rates work with as far as email? What does our text message look like from a data standpoint? I think it all goes back to e-commerce and retail, right? So for example, if I have a conversation with Nordstrom's and they say, hey, what's some other opportunities you are interested in? I already know where my customers are, right? I already know where majority of my customers are buying from. So, right, especially as a hat company, of course, it's cool to be e-commerce, but sometimes people want to see the product in person, right? So it may be our job to say, hey, we don't have a store in Chicago, but we have a lot of customers coming from Chicago that are purchasing online. We need to ensure that we have some type of presence there. It may be a community influencer. It may be some type of boutique store that we're there. It may be saying Nordstrom's, hey, can we get at least opportunity to be present at Nordstrom's? We have a Nordstrom's in Chicago. We have a strong e-commerce presence there. We want to make sure that we're able to expand that, right? Even from, like I said, a survey, like, hey, our customers say, your shipping is just crazy. We got to pay attention to that. We may say, the customer may tell us, like one of the customers said, hey, the fit of the hat is just not how it used to be. We have to really pay attention to that, right? You got, okay, cool. Go to our manufacturer. Hey, manufacturer, we've been having issue with the fit of the hat. How can we fix it, right? They may recommend some things, right? And I think for us, is always evolving the product. Like, we're only 6 years in, right? Nothing's perfect, right? There's so many tweaks and so many things that you can do to increase the quality of your product, but also increase the quality of your service, right? So you have to pay attention to what your customers are saying, and you got to remove the ego, right? I know how it be when you create a brand. It's like, oh, it's my baby, it's my baby. It's my baby. So I can't let it go. You on top of my baby. You know how your mom be like, on top of my child. Your child be wrong. You know what I'm saying? So for us, it's like removing the ego. I remove the ego, right? If someone says something negative about the brand, it's not personal. It's just how they feel. So if you don't think about that, it only is going to add up and build up. You'd rather for your to let your ego get the best of you and say, well, I ain't doing that. That's not how it works. That's not how the product fits. But if 10 people, 20 people are talking about the same thing, it'll be it's stupidity for me, honestly, just for full transparency. It'd be stupid to say I'm just gonna keep it away. Because at the end of the day, the goal is to be $1 million company. The only way you be $1 million company is that you have to think like $1 million company. My fiance works in Chick-fil-A. They're always using data to make decisions. That's just what it is. They're not making decisions based off of just some willy-nilly stuff. Like they're making decisions based off of surveys, KPIs, and so on and so forth, right? So you have to look at these things. You don't have to have 10, 20 KPIs like these bigger corporations, but at least have 5, right? Focus on those 5, which align back to data, which align back to sales. If you focus on that, you will see some type of increase in your sales, and you can be very intentional what that looks like.
Yes, I really like that. I like the removing the ego. And yes, like your business is your baby. So many things that we cultivate in the world, we think of like, our little baby, we want to put it out to the world. But you're right, you need to use that so that you can grow and be better and bigger. I really like that, to remove the ego from
and
that.
the last thing I add is, like, when you get to that point, you got the cash, you got the money, now you can play. You can do what you want to do. You can create these experiences. You know what I'm saying? The goal is just have the consistent cash flow so that you get, like, my goal is I want to be a creative. I want to be able to just create. You know what I mean? To be able to create and not be worried about the financial burden that comes with building a small business, from a small business to a medium-sized business to a multi-million-dollar company, right? And we all know what that struggles come with, emotionally, mentally, So you have to remove something. I'd rather remove my ego than remove money.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with that. Ego versus money. I would remove the ego as well. And I really like how you mentioned leveraging the data so that you can have these potential really big business opportunities when you're talking with a Nordstrom's or another brand or an influencer in a market. You can literally say, we know we have this influence there and this is how we're going to use it. So love that you mentioned the data and how it can be used in a lot of different ways. So that was great. Okay, so thinking back, Courtney, I'd love to connect with you on this next question, because we mentioned user experience just a bit. We were like teasing at it. So I'd love to get back into that. So what are some best practices for user experience that helps build a relationship with your online customers?
I think user experience really is throughout your customer journey. So I know Archie and you spoke a lot about, social media and how just having a large social media following is not the end all be all. One, especially for an e-commerce brand, you want to get them off your social media and onto your website or into a store. And for me, it's just the website. I'm all e-commerce. So my website is super important. I sell lipstick. I started in the heart of the pandemic, right? People are wearing masks, people aren't going anywhere. You're not going to go into a store and find my lipstick. So I had to really represent what the colors were online. And so the first thing I would talk about is your photos on your website. I have photos of my lipstick on about at least 5 different skin complexions, so that people, when you come to my site and you want to say, okay, is this lipstick going to work for me? You know exactly what it's going to look like. I don't want there to be any surprises, because then I'm just going to get returns. So I would say, number one, having photos that people can actually judge your product off of, and they need to be professional. You don't want them to think, oh, is this a scam site? Am I going to get my stuff? No. You want them to say, okay, this is a very nice looking site. Oh, she has the photos of the lipsticks or the products. This model here looks kind of like she has my skin complexion. This lipstick is going to be the one for me. Right? And then, so in addition to just having really great photos, I would say the navigation of some websites, right? So this one was a hard one for me too, when I was thinking about the layout. So on my first page, you will find places where you can shop for my lipstick without navigating to any other page. But if you want more information and everything else, you can go to the shop, click the collection, find that lipstick, and get all of the information about the benefits, the ingredients. I sell a product that you put on your body. So you need to actually have a lot of the information in regards to what's in it. Someone may have an allergy. They need to know that type of information, the benefits that, is it moisturizing? I know my lipstick is extremely moisturizing. We have colors for a lot of different skin tones. We want all of that at the forefront, so that when someone is in between a decision of I'm going to buy or I'm going to click and go back to social media or somewhere else, that they click to buy. And so I would say that, and then going past that into the checkout process, you want it to be easy. Because I remember getting a message, and like I said before, I thought my clientele was going to be some of the younger crowd. It's some of the older crowd. And sometimes my buttons that say shop with PayPal or anything else on the checkout confuse them. I'm not going to lie. And so I've had messages to where it's like, okay, am I able to put my credit card information into the checkout?
Oh, yes.
And so it was preventing that conversion because people weren't sure exactly how to make the purchase on the site. And so those are the different things that you have to look at when it comes to just the overall user experience, because you don't want anything to stand between you and your business making that sale. You want to make it easy, you want it to be smooth, and you want them to come back. If they have a bad experience with any of that, they may not come back and make a purchase, or if they do make a purchase, it was such a hassle the first time, they may not come back. Right? And
Yes.
so then after that, you want to continue working with them to make a really good impression. So when they receive your product, what is it coming in? Does it look like quality? Does it feel like quality? I know whenever we send out our packages, everyone is like, we love your packaging. We love it so much. It's like just simple packaging, says LipRevolt, has our color on it. I'm all about the pink. All about the pink. So you unbox it and you just have such a great experience and they want to come back. So I would say best practice, keep it professional, have great photography, even if that means you have to take photos at home. Most people have a smartphone with a great camera. You can take the photos, get like an app on your phone, edit them. I know for me, sometimes I'll take pictures of friends, put this on, let me take a picture of you with it, right? Because I want them to know exactly what that lipstick is gonna look like, because I don't have a store presence.
Right.
I don't have a presence where you can just come in and try my stuff. So I need to basically let the customer or my audience know exactly what they're going to get without ever having to meet someone in person.
Yes, there's so many like great nuggets in there. I just keep thinking too, and we do see some people in the chat like relating to that navigation, when you're dealing with maybe an older crowd, and everything can look so different from site to site. And how wonderful is it if, I was shopping and confused at one point, I come back to your site and see that it's been changed or it's clear. Like, I know as a customer that you're listening. But I totally agree with everything you're saying. Like, it is such a fast-paced environment. The internet is like insanely quick, and as quick as someone can be on your website, add in all, because I've been there. I add a bunch of stuff, $300 later, I'm like, $299 for shipping, I gotta go. And it's just so fast, and it's so wonderful to see that you have like these pieces built in, like you're thinking about your user as soon as they hit your site. So that's so great. And I do see some questions coming in the chat. Please continue to ask your questions. We're going to have a Q&A at the end, so we will we will get back to that. Okay, so moving away from user experience and talking a little bit about social media. Archie, can you tell me how you use social media to connect and maintain the relationship with your e-commerce customers? I know we've kind of touched on it, but I'd love to hear more about that. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, guys. I think that's a great question. I think social media is, like I said, is very, very different. I think that we have evolved with social media. I think social media in the beginning for us was a main driver for sales for us. I can say maybe 2018, maybe 20, right? I think the COVID hit, it changed the landscape of what that looks like, right? For us, social media at that time for COVID was survival mode, right? Survival mode meaning that how do we maintain our customers? Because we're not releasing any product. So at that time, what we did was we created this series called Brim Ups. You know, when everybody was doing the IG lives, which was a great way to stay connected, where people were just in the house, they wanted to listen. So our ideal around that was to basically inspire and motivate. But in addition to that, inspiring myself, right? Keeping me inspired, because we were having conversations with different stylists and celebrities, and just understanding that at the end of the day, we all the same. Like, we all are going through the same struggles, honestly, mentally, emotionally, when it comes to just our different careers, not even just from being an entrepreneur, but working in corporate, you know, whatever field that you guys are working in. Like, everyone has those issues of trying to figure out themselves and figure out how they can get to the next level, right? And for us, like, we want to use social media in a different light. And I think, kind of going back to what I said around staying connected to who you are, right? We use social media and telling stories, right? We got away from that last year, right? And I think that's what we very transparent that impacted our sales, because we're so focused on sales. Let's drive sales through email marketing. You know what I mean? We kind of didn't do as much things on social media. So that's why I say, like, even the I Graduate Life monthly series is going to be about really telling stories, because you can use social media. Because people on social media all the time. They use social media as inspiration. They use social media as a guide. Like, they use it as YouTube. They use it to find recipes. You know, you use it to, you know, how to style. You need to use it as a tool to educate your customers on how to wear your lipstick or how to wear your hat, right? Because a lot of time, we know for us, a lot of people don't know how to wear hats. Unfortunately, a lot of people are not as stylish as you think they may be. A lot of times, even celebrities have stylists. Why? Because they don't know how to put their own pieces together. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we have to take those same thoughts to the business, right? You just can't assume that we drop an orange hat and our customers know how to wear it. That's probably 80% not the case, you know? And I think for us, we have to do that, because we're not just let's put out a brown hat. Oh, let's just put out a navy hat. Like, we're not, you see, we do different colors. Like, that's who we are. That's who we are as a brand. Like, if you think about it, there are certain brands that have certain brand aesthetics. Like Marnie, they always do, they use the furry coats and the furry sweaters, you know, Prada, you know what I mean? Everybody has their own way of who they are. You know what I mean? And so I think it's important that you use social media organically for yourself. So for us, we're very intentional, like, you know, asking questions, you know, not posting as much, making sure you're aligned to make sure you're using videos versus photos. You know, people are engaging with videos more. And I think it's important to understand how social media actually works, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're just posting and you think you're running a business, that's just not how you work. Posting on social media is not marketing. Let's just be very transparent. That is not part of that can be a part of your marketing strategy. But we said we did 300K last year. We generated probably 200K from email and text alone. So that tells you that, to Courtney's point, it's the funnel. How do you take customers from your social media through your funnel to the sale? Simple. But that's definitely easier said than done, right? Because we got 40,000 followers, and I guarantee not all 40,000 followers are subscribed to us.
Right.
You know, so it takes time and strategy to figure it out when it comes to your open rates, to come to your these different things like comeback customers and all these percentages. Like, it's a lot. It is a lot, but you have to take the time to really understand it. And even if you have a team, I just always feel like if the CEO doesn't understand it, you don't need to have no team. But how you gonna tell somebody how to do something if you never did it before? You know what I mean? So I'm really a big believer on making sure that you at least understand the principles, because at the end of the day, it's your company, the way you communicate. So of course we have a email marketing team, but I do our text messaging still, because it's gonna be us. It's gonna be me that's communicating with them.
Right. Oh, so many good things. And
Sorry, I
like,
do too much. I know I kind of do a lot in the one little question.
no, that's great, because it is such a big question. I mean, really, when you're thinking about social media, it isn't just social media. There's so much more to it. And like you said, how it builds in with the rest of your brand. So that's so key. And then Courtney, same question for you. I know we've kind of touched on social media, but I'd love to hear about how you use social media and use it to build and maintain that relationship with your online customers.
First, I'm gonna say everything Archie said. But no, when I first got started on Instagram, I'm gonna be the first to tell you, I was not the best social media person at all, but I did know that I need to communicate. And so instead of actually using a lot of my posts, I was in people's DMs.
Oh, okay.
So I did like a secret DM messaging string where I was just like, hey, it's Courtney. Remember me from such and such? Just wanted to let you know I just launched my own business. It's called LipRevolt, and it promotes it's lipstick that promotes social activism. I really love it if you went over to the page, took a look, and went to my website and supported.
Ah, okay.
So little quick DMs that I could send to people who are already on my own personal page, get them over to my LipRevolt page. And then once they were over there, finding like people
Yes.
through them. And then I also would use the so Instagram, it's not just you on there, right? Your competitors are on there, right?
Yes.
And so looking at your competitors' Instagrams to get ideas of how they're communicating with people. If you are shopping at Mac, but you also follow, I don't know, Vote Now or something, I'm going to say, okay, you might fall into my customer or my audience base.
Yeah.
Let me click follow or like some of your pictures, just so that you know that I'm here.
Right.
Like, hey, you like lipstick? I see you like activism, or you want to make a difference in the world. I'm going to try and make that link with you. So doing a lot of introductions via DMs and stuff. And then again, I think Archie hit upon it. Don't just ask people to buy. People are not going to want to open their wallets. You really need to connect with them by teaching, having educational posts, talking about the benefits of your product and how you meet whatever their need is. I think that's a big thing, because a lot of businesses are launching, but they don't know if people have a need for it. So figuring out what that unique value proposition is, or what is different about your brand than any other brand out there, right? And then communicating that difference to people who are in your audience or on social media. So I think that's a big thing. And then also talking about, let me see, ads. Ads. So once you start to build a base, you can create ads that will look for similar people. So yeah, so when you are buying ads on like social media, Instagram, Facebook, all of those, you can set it to people like this audience, or people like these customers who like this post. So you can use it for analytics, you can use it for so many things. I use it for a lot, but it's definitely not my number one, like bring people to the store. I would say that is my fundraisers. So
Yes, no, I really
and I
like
would talk a little bit more about that, but I'll
yes,
say that for a different one.
yeah, so we have some really great resources. So Courtney's business, LipRevolt, also has a fundraising platform built into it. And I will share in the follow-up. I see a lot of questions about, is this going to be recorded? sent out. Absolutely. Check your email tomorrow. There'll be tons of really good resources in there, really relating back to our conversation today. So, I love that you mentioned like how you use social media and doing the DMs. And I'm also seeing in the chat some people talking about following their competitors, which is really a smart strategy. Courtney, like how do you measure like the success of your customer connection strategies? Like how do you know if they're working?
So on my direct site, as she mentioned previously, I also have the fundraising platform. But for my for my direct site, it's powered through Shopify. And so I can actually measure like my conversion rate, the number of site visits per month, where it's coming from. I can see via like pixels which pages that they visited, and I can see wherever the breakdown in the conversion happened. Right. And so if I have, this is just an example, but if I have 1,000, 1,500 visitors on the site, and I see that only 800 made a purchase, I'm trying to figure out, okay, why didn't these people make a purchase? Where did that stop? Did they get to the site? Did they get to checkout? Where did they go? And then say, never mind. So that then I can go to that same page and say, okay, there's something here that broke down and I need to fix it. Is it the photo? Is it the information? Is it loading too slowly? Like what is it that is breaking it down? But also, again, conversion rate, sales are the best measure of success for a business, right? That's what everybody wants: conversion rate, average order value. That's another big thing I look for. And I play a little bit with my shipping to increase that average order value. So if you buy one lipstick, you're going to pay about $8 in shipping. But if you buy 2 or more, 3 or more, it's free. So figuring out the right shipping can also improve your sales and improve like the average order value that you have for your customers. So that's another thing that I look at. And then also, LipRevolt is a mission-based brand. Like it started as that, it's continued as that. And so just measuring the amount of money that I'm able to give to nonprofits every month, and then through the fundraisers, for me, that's a measure of success in itself, because it really is trying to use lipstick as a tool for change. And I feel like looking at those measurements help me do that. So
yes, absolutely. I love how you like keyed in on there are multiple different ways to look at your sales. There's the average order value and the repeat customers. And so keying into that to see if your connection strategies are working is awesome. Okay, so before we jump into our Q&A, if you have any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'll be going back to make sure we get them covered. But Archie, I'll start with you, and then Courtney, I'll go to you for this one. So for someone who is just starting out, you know, they're learning all about this, like different ways they can connect with their customers. What are some of the most impactful ways a small business owner can make a really big impact when trying to connect with their customers? Like, where can they start? Archie, I'll start with you.
I mean, I think the first thing, know your customer is. I mean, I think that's you can't do nothing else if you don't know who your customer is. And I think that is something that's very difficult in the beginning, because you really don't know, because you are trying to build a customer. And I think over time, you'll start to realize that, oh, wow, it's not who I say it is, right? I think it also determines too, honestly, how much cash you got. Reason why I say that, because if you kind of go in depth, right, most businesses that, let's say, they come in a year and they're able to scale pretty quickly, and I'm talking about millions of dollars, is that they're able to put cash into acquiring customers, right, and acquiring the exact customers. Us, we didn't have that luxury. Like, we had to bootstrap it, right? So we had to be in the pop-ups, be in the trade shows, like doing different things on the ground, like curating our own pop-ups, using our community to start our customer base. And then from there, it's taking that data, right, from your emails and your text messaging, embedding into your ads to retarget the customers via ads to really start getting the brand on a higher level, right? So I think the easier route, if you can really, I guess, research development in the beginning, and to take that time and say, okay, hey, I'm going to dedicate 2 months to just research and development, right? I want my customer to be this, right? So when you start get ready to build your marketing plan, you can know exactly how you want to implement that and acquire the customer that you need. Because if you don't, you're going to spend a lot of money. And of course, I'm sure me and Courtney can, align to this. Like, I'd rather for you to kind of like understand who your customer is first and go through the struggles that we went through trying to find our customers, or, aligning to who our customers are and making bumps in the road to understand. And honestly, we're still trying to, figure it out, right? Because your customers is changing over time, and that's just natural what it means. Like, that bigger business are going through that every day, right? Customers are leaving, coming in. You got the Gen Z coming in now, right? How do we align to it? We can't forget about the Gen Z. We still have to align to the millennials and still have to align to the baby boomers, right? So it's a lot. But my second thing is, like, if you want to be an entrepreneur, that's what you're gonna do with that. I mean, I don't know, ain't no soft way to say it. Like, it's just what it is. Like, oh my God, like, it's just, no. You want to be an entrepreneur, you're gonna have to grind and hustle. That's just what it is. It ain't no end, no middle. It's no medium. If you're in the middle, you're not gonna see scale. You're not. There's no way. So.
Yes, no, those are such good points. Like, a really great place to start, like finding out who your customer is, and that you're gonna have to like go at it all the time, and it's constantly evolving. Courtney, same question for you.
So I agree with Archie 99%. The only 1% thing I'm gonna change is, before you can understand your customer, you need to understand yourself, what your business is, and your why. Because I don't know what's gonna keep you pushing when you're wearing 25 different hats.
Right. And I agree. And the crazy thing about Courtney, I always say mindset first, but this time I kind of switched it. So I appreciate you.
No, seriously. You need to know what your business is. You need to know if I don't like the argument of, oh, it's oversaturated and stuff. Everything is oversaturated, but I need you to understand what is special about your business and what need you're going to fill. Once you know that, finding out who your customers and stuff will be a lot easier, because it's like, oh, there's a need for this. Who needs it? Who needs it? Right? And so specifically, I can talk about it through like my fundraising site or platform rather, right? So who needs to fundraise with lipstick? Specifically, it's women-oriented groups, gymnastic teams I work with, cheerleading teams, sororities, a lot of different groups who need money, and they need a fun way to get that money. And they use my lipstick because it already is helping the community. So it's like, I found that niche, and I found, okay, who I am and the ways that I can help other people through my lipstick and my business. So honestly, the most impactful thing that you can do for your business is know who you are and your why, and don't be afraid to pivot. Don't be afraid to pivot, because you might think you're going in the right direction and you know it all and you're getting sales, and then it's like, wait a second, this was a great month. What happened? What happened? And sometimes the market just changes. You can't explain it, but you have to be willing to kind of shift gears and say, okay, let me find out the problem and go and make a change, do something different to find who my customers and clientele is. So, yep, understand you, your business, your why, and don't be afraid to pivot.
Yes. Oh, that's such a good point. And like really orienting like who you are first. So when you're making a pivot, like you're still staying true to who you are as a brand. Oh my goodness. So many good tidbits of information. I don't even want to call them tidbits. They're like big pieces of information. So many good things. I'm going to go through now. I see that some folks have asked some questions in the chat. So we'll answer a couple of those. So I wanted to mention a question from Kyle. So I think this came up, Courtney, when you were speaking. So as a digitally native brand, do you have a desire to have a physical presence? And do you see any point in it if you're already finding success in e-commerce?
I think for some businesses, there's a place for it, but for my own, I have no interest in having a physical presence.
Yes, yes.
It's not that I don't see value in it. And I do realize that there are benefits to people being able to go to a store and try on and buy my lipstick. I get that. But I think I can reach a lot more people, especially with my fundraising platform, by staying digital and by staying an e-commerce brand, especially because I donate a lot of money to different nonprofits. And then I also give money to the fundraising groups. I think by keeping my margins just the way they are and not, have to work with anybody else about the stock and inventory and everything else, it's a lot easier for me. But I applaud the people who are in stores, and it works for some people, but I don't have that desire.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. Archie, is there anything that you wanted to add to that question?
I think it's just having faith in the journey. I think we got our first retail deal during COVID. We wasn't on track to have any retail presence, and I think that opened that door, and then that allows us to get into Neiman Markets, and we'll be in Saks this year. So I think it's really just about what the landscape works for you. To her point, like whatever the journey is for you, I think God would tell you that it's your time, right? I think it depends on how quickly you want to scale, right? Of course, being in retail allows you to scale a little bit quicker because those are the orders that you're getting. So that adds, if you're doing 300K e-commerce, then you can do another 200K via retail. So now you hit that $500,000 market, right? I think it's what you can control, right? Because of course, now you start doing retail, and I ain't gonna lie, I think it's probably more tedious for like lipstick and all that. And I just know how hard it was for our first order. It was crazy. And we didn't even have a big order. So just imagine if you just have 365 stores that you got delivered to and having chargebacks. You don't want that. So if you cannot maintain, you are not prepared for that, I would advise you to do it. But if you do decide, I would say, hey, same thing we told Nordstrom's, let's start small. We don't want a big order right now, right? We want to let's get around at least 80 to 100,000 a year. And then we can scale from there. And of course, some people may be like, that's still a lot, but you got to realize of course, our price point's a little higher than other retailers. But I think it's just have fun with it. It's a journey. It's really about the journey. If God presents that to you, then take it. If he doesn't, continue to push the way you're supposed to be pushing.
Yes, absolutely. That's I think you guys provided excellent answers to that question. And I don't know if there's anything else we can add. I know there was other questions that we didn't get to. And please be sure to check your email tomorrow, because I will provide a lot of the resources, the recording, all this great information you can refer back to. And one final thing I wanted to mention, if you're here, you're listening to all this great information and you're still kind of wondering, like, where can I start? I want to work this out with someone, chat it through. Please check out the link I just dropped. That's free business coaching. You can talk to someone about your customers, about how you can target them better. And I will also be providing information on Courtney and Archie in the follow-up email as well. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for the extra time. And if you get a chance, please take that survey at the end so we can continue to make these webinars bigger and better. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Archie. And I hope you guys have a great day.
Thank you guys
No,
for
definitely.
having me.